I didn't even look at the other one. So.
Welcome, everyone. Sorry for the late start here. We're going from one thing to another. So we're just going to turn the camera over to a couple of our story readers to start. Thank you for joining us. It's nice to see a few people here today. So Norma, do you want to take it away?
People see me?
Yeah, let me just see if I can see them. That might be nice. There we go. Share screen. Okay, you can all hear us, is that right? Yeah, okay, good. So you can just use these buttons. Just change the slides,
Great.
okay?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the lunch hour storybook. And today's story is From the Stars in the Sky to the Fish in the Sea. And it's written by Cal Jen and illustrated by Wai Yat Yi and Hee Jun Ching. I didn't give it quite justice. I was thinking about this morning on my walk and tried to practice very hard the people's names because I believe that people's names are important. So it's really important to remember someone's name and to often, if you can't pronounce it, to really practice. Once upon a time, in a little blue house on a hill on the edge of town, a baby was born. They were born when both the moon and the sun were in the sky, so the baby couldn't decide what to be. Oh, I have to move this over. Sorry, Hannah. I can't move that over.
Here, let me just move this down a bit.
Thank you. Great.
Okay.
Sorry. Boy or girl, bird or fish, cat or rabbit, tree or star. So the baby looked at a little like everything. They looked very strange. All the same, the baby's mother gave her child a bath and rocked them in her arms. Your name, she said, is Mi Lan. And she sang a song that her own mother had sung to her long ago. Whatever you dream of, I believe you can be. From the stars in the sky to the fish in the sea. You can crawl like a crab or with feathers fly high. And I'll always be there. I'll be near standing by. And you'll know that I love you till the day that I die. And even though they still couldn't decide, the baby felt loved. Mi Lan grew up to be a strange, magical child who was always changing. They grew feathers and wings to fly, with bluebirds in the mornings, scales and a tail to swim fish in the afternoons, and fur and paws to play with puppies in the evenings. No matter how many things Mi Lan became, their mother always brought them back into the little blue house, gave them a bath and tucked them into bed. At the day's end, as the stars rose and sang, whatever you dream of, I believe you can be, from the stars in the sky to the fish in the sea. And Mi Lan felt loved. One day, it was time for the child to go to school. So they were so excited. They grew a tall peacock feathers and a coat of tiger stripes. Have fun, said Mi Lan's mother. But when they got to school, the other students were either boys or girls. They had no feathers, no scales, no leaves, no fur, no fins, not even any sparkles. No one invited Mi Lan to play. One little boy ran up to the child and asked, "What are you supposed to be?" Mi Lan didn't know how to answer. Oops, sorry, point down. Okay. When they came home, their mother asked them, did they like school? It's okay, said Milan. Did you make any friends? Not really, said Milan. That night, Milan's mother tucked them into bed and sang, "You can crawl like a crab, or with feathers fly high, and I'll always be here. I'll be near standing by. And if you know that I'll love you till the day that I die." And Milan felt loved, but also worried. Thank you. The next day, they wore a turtle shell with porcupine spines. No one would pull or poke Milan, but the other children still pointed and whispered. "Did you make any friends today?" asked her mother. "Not really," said Milan. That night, Milan's mother tucked them into bed and sang, "Whatever you dream of, I believe you can be, from the stars in the sky to the fish in the sea." And Milan felt loved, but they also felt sad. The next day, Milan wore no feathers, no scales, no leaves, no fur, no fins, no shells, no spines, not even any sparkles. Milan was invited to play baseball with the boys. No one pointed, whispered, laughed, or stared. But when Milan joined the little girls to play hopscotch, "Boys don't play hopscotch," said a little girl. "Are you a boy or a girl anyway?" asked a little boy. "Didn't you have a shell the other day?" asked the little girl. "And feathers the day before?" "What are you supposed to be?" said several children all at once. "I don't know," Milan shouted, and galloped out of the playground on horse's hooves, swam through the stream and on a fish's tail, and soared up in the hill like on eagle's wings. "How was school?" asked Milan's mother. "I wore feathers and stripes so that the other kids would think I was beautiful, but they thought I was weird. And then I wore a shell and spines so that no one would pull or poke me, but they wouldn't talk to me. And then I tried to be just like everyone else, but I haven't made any friends. I can't decide what to be. Why do I have to be just one thing?" "It isn't always easy to be different from everyone else," said their mother, "but you can only be who you are." "What if the other children don't like who I am?" sniffed Milan. Their mother smiled sadly. "I don't know," she admits, "but I do know this. Whatever you dream of, I believe you can be, from the stars in the sky to the fish in the sea." And Milan felt loved. That night, they slept a deep sleep. The next day, Milan wore fur and feathers, scales, leaves, and many sparkles that glittered like stars. For a moment, none of the other children spoke, and then a little girl said, "You can fly. That is so cool." "I like your sparkles," said the little boy. "I'm sorry I pulled your feathers," said the boy with red hair. "I was a little jealous of them." Milan asked, "Does anyone want to play with me?" They showed the other children how to gallop like horses, climb like monkeys, swim like fish. It was fun to be many different things. And the child of fur feathers, scales, leaves, sparkles, who were neither boy nor girl, but many things and always changing, felt happy. In the little blue house on the hill at the edge of the town, Milan's mother smiled and sang the song her mother had sung to her once upon a time. "Whatever you dream of, I believe you can be, from the stars in the sky to the fish in the sea. You can crawl like a crab, or with feathers fly high, and I'll always be here. I'll be near standing by. And you know that I'll love you till the day that I die. Whatever you dream of, I believe you can be, for you are my child, courageous and free."
Thank you, Norma. Beautiful. What a beautiful story. So for those new today, we usually read both stories and then we'll have a bit of a conversation. So we'll jump into The Paper Bag Princess next with Angela Connors from the Community Race Relations Committee. You guys can see the book still? Okay, so you can just use those.
Down arrow?
Yeah.
Do you want to sit?
Okay. All right. Not in my usual setting, but we're ready to go. Here we are, Paper Bag Princess. Elizabeth was a beautiful princess. She lived in a castle and had expensive princess clothes. She was going to marry a prince named Ronald. Unfortunately, a dragon smashed her castle, burned all her clothes with his fiery breath, and carried off Prince Ronald. Elizabeth decided to chase the dragon and get Ronald back. She looked everywhere for something to wear, but the only thing she could find that was not burnt was a paper bag. So she put on the paper bag and followed the dragon. He was easy to follow because he left a trail of burnt forests and horses' bones. Finally, Elizabeth came to a cave with a large door that had a huge knocker on it. She took hold of the knocker and banged on the door. The dragon stuck his nose out the door and said, "Well, a princess. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." He slammed the door so fast that Elizabeth almost got her nose caught. Elizabeth grabbed the knocker and banged on the door again. The dragon stuck his nose out the door and said, "Go away. I love to eat princesses, but I have already eaten a whole castle today. I'm a very busy dragon. Come back tomorrow." "Wait," shouted Elizabeth. "Is it true that you are the smartest and fiercest dragon in the whole world?" "Yes," said the dragon. "Is it true," said Elizabeth, "that you can burn up 10 forests with your fiery breath?" "Oh, yes," said the dragon, and he took a huge deep breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 50 forests. "Fantastic," said Elizabeth, and the dragon took another huge breath and breathed out so much fire that he burnt up 100 forests. "Magnificent," said Elizabeth, and the dragon took another huge breath, but this time nothing came out. The dragon didn't even have enough fire left to cook a meatball. Elizabeth said, "Dragon, is it true that you can fly around the world in just 10 seconds? "Why, yes," said the dragon, and jumped up and flew all the way around the world in just 10 seconds. He was very tired when he got back, but Elizabeth shouted, "Fantastic, do it again." So the dragon jumped up and flew around the world in just 20 seconds. When he got back, he was too tired to talk, and he lay down and went straight to sleep. Elizabeth whispered very softly, "Hey, dragon." The dragon didn't move at all. She lifted up the dragon's ear and put her head right inside. She shouted as loud as she could, "Hey, dragon!" The dragon was so tired, he didn't even move. Elizabeth walked right over the dragon and opened the door to the cave. There was Prince Ronald. He looked at her and said, "Elizabeth, you are a mess. You smell like ashes, your hair's all tangled, and you're wearing a dirty old paper bag. Come back when you are dressed like a real princess." "Ronald," said Elizabeth, "your clothes are really pretty, your hair is very neat, you look like a real prince, but you're a bum. They didn't get married after all." The end of Ronald. That's one of my favorite stories.
There we now we can see everyone. You guys can be part of this
Yeah,
conversation
if you want to
too.
come and talk.
Yeah.
So just about the paper bag princess, because like I said, that's one of my favorite stories. And I remember reading it to my grandchildren, my grandsons, when they were probably about 5 and 6 years old. And I had said, who wants to be the dragon? Who wants to be Ronald? And they just assumed that I would be the princess because, girl thing. And so we read through the story, and my one grandson was so upset that the princess was coming to save the prince. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it's supposed to work. The prince is supposed to save the princess. So he was just not having any part of it. So it was really interesting to have that conversation with him at such a young age, to realize that already he had these ideas about gender roles and what that meant. And so a lot of conversations have happened since then. I don't think he's ready to be the princess just yet, but we're still working on that one.
How old is he, Angela?
Right now, he just turned 13. The oldest, he just turned 13. So yeah, time for a bigger conversation now that he's older. Anybody else want to chime in? I really like that first story. I'd never heard that story before. I thought that was really great.
Maybe somebody on the line might want to.
Yeah. Anybody online want to chime in about responses on any of those stories, or anybody in our studio audience here?
The first one was very tender. It's like this real vulnerable, a sense of vulnerability with that child, and they're really searching and they're really trying and they're really hoping to just be seen and accepted. So it was nice to have the story, have the children come around finally.
It reminds me of the unconditional love that parents have for children, and that the feeling that a child could feel that but still was living outside of that and still questioning it. That was the vulnerable piece too, where I know my mom loves me, but I still want acceptance from friends. And that's where it gets kind of rocky. And sometimes you go through rocky stuff in life, and it's necessary.
I appreciated the simple reminder of saying there.
Yes.
Just with pronouns. That was, I missed the beginning of the story, sorry it was late, but the pronouns were important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's really, I like what you said about, you could have have love and acceptance from your family, but you're still having to deal with outside of your family, how you're perceived, and just kind of thinking about how sometimes when folks are different, particularly when it relates to genders and non-conforming with gender binaries, that not having the acceptance within their own family would make all the outside stuff that much more difficult to navigate when you don't have that kind of grounding in love and acceptance from the people who you expect to have that from.
I love the whole part about the what if world, and that the he, she, they, in that just that story is like a gift to all of us, that we think we know what the world's going to be like, but it's kind of a crack it wide open. It could be anything, and I just love that, the possibilities of what the world could be.
I actually kind of cried a little bit because I thought of some stories of children who were so authentically themselves before they went to school. Boys into sparkles and painting their nails, or, just people close to me who have children who've come home and they don't want to wear that anymore after a few days of school, or they don't want to say that or show their interest and they just close right off. And I just thought, like, how much of someone's being are we stifling when, you know, they go to school and we give them some way they have to be. And just like, I've heard more stories than I'd like to hear of children coming back from the first week of school and changing who they are. And that's like heartbreaking to me.
How
Mhm.
quickly we put people into boxes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And even stereotypical. My son, who's like 28, he's older than that. He's like 36. I'm losing it. He's 36 now, but when he was in kindergarten, he didn't go to junior, he went to senior. And when he was, they drew the big picture of himself, right? And his picture, he colored his face in. And his teacher took the picture and put it in the garbage. And I had to go to school. And I was a little, of course, letting your emotions, I was trying to keep it all together. And I tried, because I said, you know, you put them all up on the wall and a child gets to say, not you, I'm different, but that would be okay. Or I'd like to be the same, or they get to say, but he didn't get to say, you got to say. So that was kind of one of those aha moments, you know,
Wow.
where you're kind of like, whoa.
Hmm. Did you pull the ECE card on them?
I sure did. I pulled what Angela pulled the 2x4. We call Angela's 2x4.
Oh.
I think along the way there was like a way of coming at it. Someone had said like these things, our identity it's how we make meaning, you know, like the meaning that we assign to like glitter nail polish or how things make us feel. And you know, your son in that moment wanted to fill his face in, and that's how he was feeling in that moment. And it sounds like that could have been a really wonderful identity kind of, here I am as a member of this classroom community. And it's so important for teachers to understand that, like, this is the meaning that they make of how they see themselves. And that's okay, like if they're not threatening or hurting anyone else, just because of what they like and how they like to present themselves.
My daughter's in concurrent BAB Ed, so I'm just really hoping that like throughout her education, but especially the teachers college now, that they really start examining what's going on and how, as you use that word earlier, they can embed all these you know, things into all their classes right from the beginning, right? So it'll be interesting to sort of follow her journey through that.
From history to history
Yeah.
to diversity to truths.
Anyone online want to add anything or pose any questions for us to consider? Anything else from the room?
It's supposed to be cricket, isn't it?
Well, thank you to Yvonne Lai from the New Canadian Centre for choosing this and other wonderful books that we've been reading. We'll meet back in 2 more weeks to do another couple of stories. So hope you can all join then. And yeah, thank you to our readers today, Angela and Norma. And thanks to all of you for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.